Hello,
Bayern Munich starts the new footballing year, accompanied with the morning of the passing away of Franz Beckenbauer out of tomorrow's game. So we welcome Thomas Tuchel and start with the questions.
Thomas, before
we start, Thomas, we're talking about the game.
In München gelandet.
10:15, Eric Dier touchdown in Munich with his airplane. What do you expect from him as a player? Well, from experience, we know that things can go wrong in the final seconds. He is in Munich, and we try to acquire him and finalize the deal and get another alternative at the central defense position in our squad. But everything else, I would like to wait before it's really finalized and we reach an agreement between the clubs and the players, and once the ink has dried. But you are right, he is in the city. The game tomorrow is under the impact of the death of Franz Beckenbauer. What are your feelings about it? Well, we have mixed feelings. First, we are focused on our performance on the start of the footballing year, but the death of Franz Beckenbauer is a dimension that is hard to get a grip on, really. He's an incredible personality, an incredible player. I'm too young to have experienced him as a player on the television or live, but the dimension of his death is something you can really not grasp and not put into words. So it is going to be absolutely emotional tomorrow. And the next week is going to be emotional, and then we're going to feel, particularly the players that are younger than me and don't really have a relationship to him, they will realize this. And next week at the funeral service. But like I said, we have mixed emotions because on the same hand, we want to focus on having the best possible start into this calendar year with a victory, particularly on a day when we are thinking about Franz Beckenbauer. Mr. Tuchel, you were talking about Eric Dier. He's a player that can play all positions defensively. You were mentioning him. He can play all the positions defensively. So if you can acquire him, what would that mean for the further plannings as far as the squad is concerned? I think that he is more or less a specialist in the central defensive role. He played a couple of games at the holding midfield role in the past, but he can play both central defender positions. He can play with a 3 at the back as well. So we, first and foremost, can free up Leon Goretzka for his place in midfield. And so he doesn't have to switch from the left 8 to the central defense anymore, which he has done very well in the past. But other than that, it's about the same positions still that we have in the focus, and we'll see whether there will be any further things happening. Mr. Tuchel, another question to Franz Beckenbauer. What was his impact to you? Did you have a relationship or closer contact, and what will be his legacy? Well, I didn't have closer contact. I think I'm right in saying we met twice, really briefly. What was really great was his friendly, open way of approaching people, like you would know him very well and talk to him really on the same level. And I think that he really touched on so many people, and there are so many that know him even less than I do, but they still had the feeling that they actually know him. and he really touched their hearts and reached them emotionally. And this is something that really created his aura and his personality. He really had the ability to talk about things in a very poignant way, and the way he went about things as a player, as a board member, as a coach was just incredible. And so you really had to respect him. And to me now, I think that through to the articles that I read about him and things that are said about him, I start to understand him even more. We were talking about transfers. Did you have to learn more patience in that regard? And are there further things that you changed, that you had to learn? Well, patience is not my fortune, really. But I'm working at the professional level for like 14, 15 years, and nothing really has changed between Mainz and here. On my journey, every coach wants to have all players that he wishes for on the first day of the transfer window, but that's never going to happen. So I actually am a bit more patient than I was in the past, because I know how complicated the transfer business really is and how many different interests are involved. It's not only about what I want, it's about what makes sense for the club, for the team, economically, and then there is obviously the player himself. There is the team that wants to sell the players, then there is the agent, at least one. So it's a really complex matter. And sometimes as a coach, it's really easy to say, I want to have this or that player. And it's very normal that things take their time. And so he is in the city, but still it's that doesn't mean that the deal went through. I have experienced too many things in the summer, for example. So we only start planning when the player really has put pen to paper, and we're looking forward to that. But other than that, we are trying to push things forward as far as development is concerned and improving the team is concerned. That it's not only about transfers, it's about the way we go about things together, the way we practice. And in the end, it's about changing particular things and keeping the highest level, because we have high targets that we aim for. Thomas Tuchel, Ottmar Hitzfeld will turn 75 years tomorrow. How did you see his career, and will you be a Bayern coach for just as long as he was? Well, I think he was Bayern coach twice, 7 years in total. So that is pretty much something you cannot imagine anymore. There is a picture of him in the first floor, I guess. There's a plate behind glass where a couple of original notes of Franz Beckenbauer and also notes from Ottmar Hitzfeld and lineups and everything on display, and I pass this every day, so the bar is set really high as far as longevity is concerned and success is concerned. But he also is an absolute successful coach, a gentleman with a very special aura to lead teams, and very impressive and very successful. So I can only congratulate him. Let's look ahead to the game tomorrow. What are the news in the squad? Pavlovic got a knock against Basel. And how would you rate the preparation for this game? Well, the curtain just doesn't close down, so you get everything. Pavlovic was back in practice. King, it was just a precautionary matter. We think that he will be back today and be ready to play. So there are only the long-term injured players. We are going to take a couple of new players with us, and you saw against Basel, it was a bit of a rocky start, a bit of a grind. We didn't have the bite and the speed and the general mood that we'd like to have. So this week we made a huge step forward. Till now, it really feels like we are ready to have. It was an intensive week, and we want to use this day today again to be ready for tomorrow. We were really flexible with our practicing times because of the cold. We were practicing midday to use the sunlight and the warmth as good as we could, and we were practicing tactically and not let those breaks be too long, but I am really happy with the week that we had, and I feel that we are absolutely ready to really start and get going tomorrow. I feel the bite, I feel the tension, the positions that we have, players fighting for their spots. They are really fighting for it, and the other positions that we don't have two players to fight for, I still feel that there is a fire and there is a spirit that we need to have and that you wish to be there. We were not happy with the way that was against Basel, but everyone was really upping his game there. 3 more questions. Hoffenheim has like 2 faces. If you look at the home table and the away table, even though they were a bit unlucky at home, they are more confident tomorrow on the road. What do you expect? Well, I expect 3 at the back, which is a bit special as they really are playing very well. So we have to wait whether we play our midfield pressing or attacking pressing, because you can change the angles in their build-up play, and they sometimes play 4 at the back in the build-up, and we have to adjust accordingly. But we expect a lot of running in midfield, a lot good speed up front, and they have very different characters in their team, in offense, in midfield, a mix of different playing styles, and it's a very good team on the counter. They know how to play. We have to be very disciplined in our counter press in order to avoid counters before they even start, and that is going to be our task. We are prepared for this like we always do. We have the first meeting today and tomorrow the second, and we're going to be ready tomorrow. What are your plans for the second round of fixtures? How would you rate your positioning? And is Leverkusen going to be your harshest opponent for the championship? Well, yes and no, because I think that Stuttgart, Leipzig, and all the others also have possibilities to put a couple of victories on the trot and stay on the top spot and near that region. But we have the possibility, as we have still got a game in hand, to really get close on Friday. And we are planning to do just that. We have a couple of things in our game when we have the build-up from a very low block to our stability when we defend as a unit on a really high level, but we still have something to do when it comes to our play in the opponent's half and the counter press. That's where we want to improve, and get better. And like I said, I have the feeling that the last couple of practice sessions and the last week really gave us the opportunity to make a huge step forward, and we try to show that tomorrow, because that's what we wish for. We want to start a run. We want to start putting pressure on our opponents by making those 3 points and by creating a run and winning those games. We want to keep the pressure high in order to reach our goals, and our goals are clear. We want to reach the championship. We were talking about this practice week. It's really cold these days. You fly to Portugal on Sunday in a short practice camp. What do you expect from those days in Portugal? Well, I like those training camps. With warmer temperatures, you have more time to spend time together with the players, with the coaches, and you can work on more details and have more breaks in between without the players feeling cold, because you're really freezing so easily on your fingers, on your toes, and that's where the quality is really suffering, and it really influences the way you select your teams, and you can make a short little tournament with 3 teams, for example, where one team has a break, because you cannot really do that on -8 degrees Celsius, because the danger to get sick or to get injured is too big, and we will have the best opportunities there. I hope that it's not too windy, but other than that, the temperature should be ideal to really practice in calmness and patience twice a day. And I know that we have started the games already in the league, so you cannot put too much workload on the players, but we can practice in a couple of things like dead ball situations, like offensive and defensive setups, and play with smaller groups and spend more time together, because it really changes the group as such. And I hope that tomorrow we will manage to get a victory and start into those 4 or 5 days and be ready with a couple of more percentage points for our atmosphere and the team spirit. Nusa Masraoui traveled to the Africa Cup. How is the communication going, if and whether he will play? Because the Moroccans might use him earlier than the doctors would like it to. Well, yes, and he might not be the first one. I can understand every national team coach that is looking at his own interests and trying to field the best players possible, but he is an injured player. We pay this injured player. He has a contract, and while he is on the build-up practice, and I can only tell you that I was talking to the medical staff, and we were talking to the Federation of Morocco, and they were talking to the doctors and were telling them when he should actually join the team and when he could actually play. And we found a compromise because they wanted to get him earlier, and we were recommending that he shouldn't play until the third and final group stage game. But this is only a recommendation on a piece of paper or on an email. But honestly, the truth is, I don't know how the tournament will go, but if they need quality on the right back position in the third game, I wouldn't be completely surprised if they wouldn't remember this email, actually. And it's just the reality, and it's a bit of a paradox, but it's unfortunately not to our best. So thank you very much. Have a good start and see you tomorrow.